There we go. Wow. Hey y'all, welcome to Southern Fish and Forage. Today we're out here doing a little bit of sheepshead fishing. The rig we're gonna use is this right here. What I've got is an inline sinker, 1 1/4 ounce, attached to a number 1 hook, just like that. I got my 20-pound fluorocarbon leader, and we're gonna be using fiddler crabs today. I caught these fiddler crabs last night.
Look at all those. Look at those. Damn, I couldn't even get them.
And it's probably the best bait for sheepshead. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna take our fiddler crab on our little jig and drop it down about 5 feet at a time. There we go, there we go. That's a good one. All right. First fish of the day. We've been here about 3 minutes. That was probably my 3rd drop. Man, that's a good fish. All right. Ooh, great fish. A little tiny landing net. This thing's pathetic. Woo. Beautiful. This is like a perfect eating size. It's not too big. It's not too small. There we go. First sheepshead of the day. Let's measure it. We've got 17 inches. Beautiful. We're gonna keep it. All right, let's talk about baits and tackle to use while you're targeting sheepshead. So for years when I lived in Florida, all I used was a knocker rig, which is a hook attached to a leader, just like that. And then I have a weight that freely moves all the way down to the hook. And I attach my leader to my main line with a swivel so that the weight can't go above it. But essentially that's what it looks like, and I would drop that down by the pilings. When I moved up to Virginia in 2017, I started seeing all these things called tog jigs and bottom sweeper jigs, which is just like this. These ones are all beat up because they have been used quite a bit. Here's another one. I want to say this one's about 2 ounces, but basically it's a weight attached to a hook. The benefit to using these tog jigs is your line is tight all the way down to the hook. Sheepshead have a very delicate bite, so if you have any slack in your line, you might not even feel your bite. Your bait's going to get stolen and you're not going to catch the fish. With a knocker rig, the weight goes all the way down to the hook and there is no slack in your line. However, if you're using like a standard fish finder rig where your weight would be fixed up here, there's going to be a lot of slack right here, and the sheepshead's going to be able to take your bait without you even knowing. Here's some more different styles of those jigs. This one has a free floating hook. So what I've started using most recently is this right here. I saw this in a Facebook post, and what it is an inline sinker. This one's 1 1/4 ounce, attached with a split ring to a number 1 hook. So the benefits to this is there's a free floating hook. I feel like the crab can kind of distort better, and whenever the sheepshead bites your crab, it can actually pull it into its mouth. Whereas the tog jigs, it's got to pull a whole weight into its mouth. You can change out your hook size based on the size of fish you're catching. These tog jigs right here work really good for your bigger fish, your 20-inch plus fish. However, a lot of times I go fishing for 15 to 20-inch fish, so I like to use a smaller hook that they can actually get in their mouth. And they're also a lot cheaper. This cost me maybe $1 to make, whereas these tog jigs can cost anywhere from $3 to $5 a piece. For baits, the best bait is going to be fresh fiddler crabs. This one right here is actually a pretty big one. This is a male. Males have a large claw. That's why they're called fiddler crabs. They have one large claw and then one normal size claw. They'll be sitting there waving them at each other. This one right here is a female. It has two claws that are the same size. If you're catching your fiddler crabs, you'll often come across these, especially if you flip over rocks. This is a mud crab. I don't prefer using these because they're not nearly as hardy as fiddler crabs. These are a lot more delicate. They die a lot easier. They're a little bit thinner and a little bit softer too. So they'll fall off your hook a little bit easier. Sheepshead love them though. You can also use clams, shrimp, oysters, any crustaceans really. Crustaceans are what sheepshead eat though. So one last little request this little fiddler crab has. If you've ever learned anything from my videos or you've ever found my videos entertaining, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. These videos cost a lot. Just between gas, tolls, and the boat ramp fee today, you're looking at about $150. So it'd be really appreciated if I could get like a like and a subscription. Ow, f***. So you're gonna take this rig and you're gonna drop it down next to some pilings about 5 feet at a time. And usually I wait about 20 to 30 seconds. If I don't get a bite, I'll do a little jig with it, try to see if anything will see it, and then I'll drop it down another 3 or 5 feet. So something like this, I'll just give it a little pop, wait a couple more seconds. If nothing bites it, I'm gonna drop it down again. So we're gonna go down a couple more feet. The key to sheepshead fishing is staying as close to the pilings as possible. You don't want your bait drifting off. Right now I got a current going that way, so I want to stay on this side of the poles. That way my bait is right up next to the poles. Sheepshead almost exclusively feed on crustaceans, so these poles that have all the barnacles and the oysters and the crabs, that's where the sheepshead are feeding. So we're going to drop it down again a couple feet. Then once I reach the bottom, sometimes I'll do a second drop. I'll start back from the top, do a second drop, but usually I just move on to the next piling. Oh, got one. There we go. Got one. Oh. All right, come out. So I try to fight them away from the pilings first. That way they don't break me off. All right, here's the second one of the day. I'd actually caught one earlier when I first got here, but here's number 2 for the day. We're gonna keep a couple of these. So that right there is another nice keeper sheepshead. In the state of Virginia, there is no size limit on sheepshead, but there is a bag limit. This one is 15 inches. That's a pretty good sheepshead. All right, we've got 2 fish in the box. We're gonna drop it back down, again, 5 feet at a time. Let it sit for a couple seconds. Ooh, there we go. I got a nice bite. Do it again. I might have actually taken my crab. was weird. He like hit it. So I try to keep my rod tip pretty close to the pole, just a couple inches off, and I also try to keep it as still as I possibly can. I kind of create a visual marker on the pole of where I want my rod tip to be, so I'm not like bouncing it all around like this, because you tend to get less bites like that. I try to keep my pole as still as I possibly can. Drop it down again. There we go, got another one. There we go. Number 3 of the day. Oh no! See how he's running into those pilings? You want to pull him this way. You want to get him off of those pilings. He's a decent sized fish too. Come on. All right, I think I got him out. Wow, he's a good one. All right, there we go. This is number 3 of the day. Now sheepshead have a really delicate bite. They just kind of nibble. They don't hit it like a freight train, like a redfish or a trout. They're just a really delicate nibble. So that's where this inline sinker, there's a lot of people that use these bottom sweeper jigs or the tog jigs. That's where it comes in handy, because your line is completely tight all the way up to your hook. So you can feel those delicate bites. Look at that fish right there. I've been out here for about 20 minutes now, and this is my 3rd fish. This one measures out at 17.5 inches. That is a beautiful keeper fish. We're gonna put this one in the box. Here we have our sheepshead. It's ready to be cleaned. Sheepshead have thick scales, so it makes them a little bit more difficult to clean. You wanna make sure that your knife is angled underneath the scales, otherwise you're just gonna dull your knives down. Once I get that done, I point my knife towards the way I'm cutting and go from underneath. I actually do this with all fish that I fillet, but sheepshead, it's definitely important. And you're just gonna do that all the way down. Then you're gonna bring the knife back in and just follow the spine. All right. Then you're going to cut over this spine, get this bottom part of the fillet. Alright, so something else I do is I leave this fillet on and I flip it over and do the other side. That way, as I'm filleting this side, the head isn't like lifting up while the spine is all flat against the cutting board, and you gotta like, it makes it difficult for me. A sharp knife is definitely important. I'm not pulling the meat off of the bones. I'm just lifting it up so that I can get the knife in there. All right. Alright, here's our 2 sheep's head fillets. I'm going to clean them up a little bit. When I'm skinning the fish, I don't saw with my knife. I leave my knife still and pull the fillet back and forth. Just like that. And then the pin bones, you gotta take the pin bones out so no one chokes. Some people use tweezers. I just cut them out. Alright, so now that we got our fish fillets, we're going to cook a curry fish dish. The first time I heard about curried fish, I was not impressed, but it's actually one of the best fish dishes I've tasted. So here's how we're gonna make it.
First, you're gonna take your fish and you're gonna cut it up into bite-sized chunks. Alright, so I would separate this and then start going in for little bite-sized chunks. Next, we're going to season it with salt, turmeric, and coriander. There's no rhyme in reason, you just kind of want to coat the fish evenly. You want your pan nice and hot on high heat with a generous amount of oil. I like to use regular olive oil. And you're going to sear this for about 2 minutes on each side. I like to use tongs because fish is very delicate. And just gently flip it over. Then once it gets crispy like this, you remove it from the heat onto a plate. Reduce your heat to medium heat and then add in a 13 to 14 ounce coconut milk of your choice. And then any red curry paste, I use this one, and it is about 3 to 4 tablespoons. Over here, I have 2 Thai long chili peppers and a green bell pepper. I'm going to julienne the bell pepper and dice the Thai pepper. You can cut this with a knife or a pair of scissors. I prefer scissors. Once you let this simmer for about 5 minutes, you're going to turn up the heat to high because you want to bring it to a boil. As it's boiling, add in your bell peppers and Thai chili peppers. You want to wilt it, not really cook it all the way. Add the fish back in to let it marinate in the curry and sit for a couple minutes before serving. Alright, it's come to a boil and I've turned off the heat, and I'm going to slowly add in the fish. Once you add in all the fish, you kind of just let it sit here and marinate for a few minutes. Alright, you're going to serve your curry with some jasmine rice and eat.